orange pumpkins, purple cauliflower, blood-red beets, radishes with skin almost as dark as charcoal. This looks like the perfect Halloween harvest, but one crop in that basket may already be too late for your garden. The good news is that a Halloween garden does not begin and end with pumpkins. A colorful October harvest can also come from carrots, beets, black radishes, purple radishes, turnips, rutabagas, sweet potatoes, orange and purple cauliflower, kale, Swiss chard, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. Some can move quickly, some need transplants, some are realistic only in warm regions or when they are already growing. Several can still give you baby leaves or young roots when there is not enough time for a full-size harvest. The phrase "plant now" never means exactly the same thing everywhere in the United States. A gardener in Minnesota may be racing toward frost, while a gardener in Georgia, coastal California, or parts of Texas may still have a long, warm stretch ahead. So, this video will not pretend all 15 crops are safe choices everywhere. We will look at what each crop contributes, how it should be started, what can slow it down, and what to choose instead when the calendar says no. Near the end, we will combine the list into 3 realistic plans. One for an early frost, one for a longer warm fall, and one for anyone starting late. Before you buy a seed packet, make one promise to yourself. Do not choose a crop only because it looks perfect for Halloween. Choose it because its growing time, your weather, and your space can work together. A successful Halloween garden is not the one with the longest list. It is the one that turns the time you have into food you can harvest. Before choosing the first crop, we need to find out how much growing time your garden actually has. Start with October 31st, but do not stop there. Halloween is your visual target, not always your biological deadline. The more important date may be your local first frost, especially for warm season crops that slow down or suffer damage when temperatures fall. Write down 3 dates: today, October 31st, and your average first frost. If frost usually arrives before Halloween, tender crops may need to finish earlier. If it arrives afterward, you may have extra time. In a frost-free area, late summer heat may be the bigger challenge. Next, check the seed packet or plant tag for the exact variety. Look for days to maturity, then read how that number is calculated. Some packets count from direct sowing, others count from transplanting. A cauliflower listed from transplant does not include the weeks spent growing the seedling. A carrot listed from sowing includes the journey from seed. But hot soil, dry crusting, or poor seed contact can still delay germination. Treat days to maturity as an estimate, not a promise. Full growth can slow as days become shorter. A plant that matures quickly under long, bright days may need longer later in the season. Transplant shock, dry soil, crowding, pest damage, or weak fertility can tighten the schedule further. Use a safety buffer. Its size depends on the crop, climate, and the way maturity is counted, so do not force one universal number onto every plant. The point is to avoid planning with no room for error. Place each crop into one of 5 categories. High confidence means a useful harvest, reasonably fits your window. Possible with the right variety means a faster cultivar may fit, while a slower one does not. Transplant preferred means starting from seed may be too late, but a healthy young plant can help. Warm region or already growing only means starting from scratch is unrealistic in many places. Baby harvest means young leaves, small roots, or partial heads may still be worthwhile. Finally, check whether the crop is warm season or cool season. Pumpkins and sweet potatoes need warmth. Kale, cabbage, radishes, turnips, and other fall crops prefer cooler conditions once established, but their seedlings can still struggle in hot, dry soil. Keep this calculation in mind because it changes how we should judge the 2 most obvious Halloween crops. Let us begin with the plant everyone expects to see, and the one that demands the most honest look at your calendar. Mini pumpkins earn their place at the front of the Halloween basket because they deliver the shape, color, and seasonal feeling people recognize immediately. They can be displayed whole, roasted, stuffed, used in centerpieces, or lined along a porch. Their smaller size also makes them look like a sensible late-season choice. But small fruit does not automatically mean a very short growing season. A mini pumpkin variety still has to germinate, build a vine, produce male and female flowers, receive successful pollination, set fruit, expand that fruit, and ripen the skin. The plant also needs enough warm weather for the fruit to develop properly. A variety that produces small pumpkins may mature earlier than a giant carving type, but the packet for the exact cultivar is what matters. If your first frost is close, starting mini pumpkins from seed may be a gamble. A healthy transplant can sometimes save time, but pumpkins do not enjoy severe root disturbance. Avoid old, root-bound plants with vines already tangled around the pot. A compact, young transplant that has been handled gently is usually a better choice than a stressed plant that has been sitting too long. Plant pumpkins where they receive strong sun and enough room for their vines. If space is tight, choose a variety described as compact, bush, or suitable for trellising, but do not assume every mini pumpkin stays small as a plant. Many produce small fruit on surprisingly vigorous vines. A trellis must be strong, and developing fruit may need support depending on its size and the structure you use. Late summer water management is critical. Deep, consistent watering supports steady growth, but waterlogged soil can weaken roots. Mulch can reduce evaporation and protect the soil surface from extreme heat. Keep the crown of the plant from staying constantly wet, and watch for squash vine borer, cucumber beetles, squash bugs, and powdery mildew, where those problems are common. Pollination is another possible delay. A vine may produce flowers without setting fruit, especially during extreme heat or when pollinator activity is low. If you know how to identify male and female flowers, hand pollination can help, but it cannot replace the warm time needed for the fruit to mature. For northern or high elevation gardeners, mini pumpkins belong in the possible only if the calendar fits category. In warm regions with a long fall, they may still be reasonable. And if the timing does not work, do not let one crop cancel the whole Halloween plan. You can buy one pumpkin for the center of the display and grow the other colors yourself. If mini pumpkins no longer fit your calendar, the next pumpkin may sound even less practical. But there is one situation where it still deserves consideration. When you already have a healthy plant or a warm growing season that extends well into fall. Pie pumpkins offer something many decorative types do not always provide. A strong connection between the garden, the Halloween display, and the kitchen. Their flesh can be roasted and used in soups, bread, desserts, or savory dishes. A single, well-ripened fruit can be both decoration and food. The challenge is time. A pie pumpkin needs enough growing season not merely to form a fruit, but to ripen it. The rind should develop the color and hardness expected for the variety. The stem should mature, and the fruit should be harvested before damaging cold. A green fruit that has only recently set is not the same as a mature pumpkin simply because Halloween has arrived. If you already have a vine growing and setting fruit, your task is not to rush it with excessive fertilizer. Too much nitrogen can push more leaves and vines when what you need is steady fruit development. Maintain consistent moisture, protect the foliage from severe stress, and avoid unnecessary pruning that exposes the fruit and reduces the leaf area feeding it. If you are considering a transplant, inspect it carefully. A young plant with active growth and a healthy root system may be useful. An oversized transplant with tangled roots, yellowing leaves, or a long vine cramped in a small pot can lose the time you hope to save. After planting, reduce transplant shock with good watering and temporary protection from harsh afternoon sun if conditions are extreme. The biggest mistake is reading the maturity period and assuming the fruit will be ready on the exact final day. You need room for pollination delays, heat stress, pest pressure, and slower autumn growth. If the packet says the crop already requires nearly all the time you have left, that is not a comfortable window. Pie pumpkins are most realistic for gardeners in long season areas, gardeners with established vines, or gardeners who have access to suitable young transplants and enough warm weather ahead. For a short season gardener, beginning from seed, this is often the crop to skip. That does not mean you lose the orange centerpiece. It means you replace a long vine with a faster orange root, a transplant of orange cauliflower, or even a purchased pumpkin surrounded by vegetables grown at home. Fortunately, you do not need a pumpkin vine to put strong orange color into your Halloween basket. The next crop gives you that color below the soil, needs far less space, and may be much more realistic for a late start. Carrots are one of the best ways to keep the orange color in your Halloween plan without giving an entire bed to a sprawling vine. They fit raised beds, traditional rows, deep containers, and small garden spaces. They also offer an important late-season advantage. You can harvest them young if the calendar becomes tight. Choose the variety with your actual soil and time in mind. Long storage carrots need deep, loose soil. Short around, cylindrical, or baby types can be easier in containers or shallow beds and may provide a usable harvest sooner. Do not rely on the word baby alone. Read the variety description and maturity estimate. Carrots are usually direct sown because their taproots do not like transplanting. Prepare a smooth seed bed with loose soil and remove stones or hard clods that can cause roots to fork. Sow shallowly and maintain good seed-to-soil contact. The hardest part of late summer carrot planting is often germination. The seeds are small, slow to emerge, and close to the surface, where the soil can dry quickly. If the top layer dries repeatedly, germination becomes patchy. Keep the surface consistently moist without washing the seeds away. A light covering that conserves moisture can help, but it must be removed or managed, so emerging seedlings still receive light and airflow. In very hot conditions, temporary shade during the germination period may be useful. Once the seedlings emerge, thin them. Crowded carrots compete for moisture and space, and many small roots pressed together will not magically turn into a basket of large, straight carrots. Thin gently so you do not disturb the roots you plan to keep. Avoid pushing heavy nitrogen. Carrots need healthy leaves, but excessive nitrogen can favor top growth and contribute to poor root quality. Consistent moisture is more useful than alternating drought and flooding. For a Halloween target, carrots can be treated in two ways. If the variety and frost window allow full maturity, grow them to their normal harvest size. If time is shorter, plan for a young harvest. Small carrots can still bring bright orange color to the basket, and their tops can make the harvest look fresh and dramatic. Some gardeners can leave carrots in the ground beyond Halloween and harvest later as temperatures cool. Others may need to protect the bed or harvest before severe freezing. The correct plan depends on local conditions. Carrots show why a themed harvest should be built around flexibility. A smaller orange root, harvested on time, is more valuable than a pumpkin vine that never ripens a fruit. The next orange crop also grows underground, but it comes with a major warning. For many gardeners, this is not a crop to begin now. It is a crop that should already be growing. That crop is the sweet potato. Sweet potatoes may look perfect in an orange, red, and purple fall harvest, but they are warm season plants that usually need a long stretch of heat to build a good crop underground. They are not a reliable, quick replacement for pumpkins. If you already planted slips earlier in the warm season and the vines are healthy, sweet potatoes can absolutely belong in your Halloween plan. Your focus now should be maintaining steady growth, avoiding severe drought stress, and allowing the leaves to keep feeding the roots. Do not repeatedly dig around the plant to check for tubers. Every inspection can damage roots and reduce the plant's ability to store energy. Keep weeds under control while avoiding deep cultivation near the root zone. Water consistently, but do not keep the soil saturated. Excess moisture and poor drainage can cause problems, while repeated drought can limit growth. In many gardens, the vigorous vines shade the soil once established, but young or sparse plants may still benefit from mulch. Harvest timing matters. Sweet potatoes are sensitive to cold, and the roots can be damaged by low soil temperatures or exposure to frost. The vines may signal the end of the season when cold weather arrives, but waiting for harsh cold is not the goal. Gardeners in cooler climates should follow local guidance on harvesting before damaging temperatures. If you are only now thinking about starting sweet potatoes from slips, be realistic. In many parts of the United States, there will not be enough hot weather left for a meaningful crop by Halloween. Warm southern regions may have more flexibility, but even there you should compare the expected growing period of your variety with the remaining warm season. A second mistake is expecting the roots to be ready for immediate storage or best flavor as soon as they are dug. Sweet potatoes are commonly cured after harvest under warm, humid conditions, so the skins toughen and quality improves. That curing process is part of the post-harvest plan, not something to ignore because the holiday date has arrived. Place sweet potatoes in the warm region or already growing category. They are a beautiful addition when the vines were planted on time. They are not the best rescue crop for a gardener who is starting late. If sweet potatoes are already off the table, the next crop can still create a dramatic orange centerpiece, but only if you solve the heat problem first. Now let us look at orange cauliflower. Orange cauliflower can become one of the most surprising items in a Halloween basket. Instead of hiding its color underground, it produces a bright head above the soil, framed by blue-green leaves. It can replace some of the visual impact of a pumpkin without requiring a long vine. The question is not whether cauliflower likes full weather. It does. The question is how you get a young cauliflower plant through the remaining summer heat so it can reach that cooler weather in good condition. For many gardeners starting late, a healthy transplant is more realistic than seed. Beginning from seed adds the entire seedling stage to your schedule. A transplant has already completed part of that journey, but quality matters. Choose a compact plant with healthy leaves, a firm stem, and roots that hold the soil together without circling heavily around the pot. Transplant in the late afternoon or on a cloudy day when possible. Water the planting hole and settle the soil gently around the roots. During very hot weather, light temporary shade can reduce stress, especially during the first several days. Shade cloth should lower the intensity without turning the bed into darkness. The goal is to protect the plant while it establishes, not deprive it of the light needed for growth. Mulch helps keep the root zone more stable, but leave a little space around the stem. Water deeply enough to moisten the root zone rather than sprinkling only the surface. Irregular watering and severe stress can interfere with head development. Spacing is important. Cauliflower plants need enough room to build large leaves because those leaves power the developing head. Crowding may look efficient when the plants are small, but it can reduce airflow and create competition later. Watch for imported cabbage worm, cabbage looper, flea beetles, aphids, and other brassica pests common in your area. Inspect leaf undersides and the growing center. A small amount of damage caught early is easier to manage than a plant stripped after you stop checking for a week. Do not promise yourself a perfect full-size orange head exactly on October 31st. The variety, transplant age, temperature, and growing conditions all influence timing. If your fall remains mild, the plant may continue developing after Halloween. That is still a successful fall crop. Orange cauliflower belongs in the transplant preferred category for many late starters. It may be possible from seed in warm regions with a long season, but the packet and local calendar must support that decision. We now have several ways to build the orange side of the basket. But here is the important shift. The crops that look most like Halloween are not necessarily the crops most likely to reach harvest by Halloween. From this point forward, the list becomes less about tradition and more about strategy. Pumpkins and sweet potatoes may create the strongest autumn image, yet both can be difficult rescue crops when the season is already moving toward fall. Faster roots, harvestable leaves, and established transplants may give you a better chance of putting real food into the basket. So from here, listen for 3 clues. Can the crop be harvested young? Can it tolerate or even benefit from cooler weather? And can you start it in a way that avoids wasting valuable weeks? Keep a mental note of every crop that fits your frost window. Near the end, we will combine them into complete plans instead of leaving you with a random list. The most naturally Halloween-looking crop in this entire video is still ahead, and it does not grow on a vine. Before we reach it, we need a deep red crop that can provide both edible roots and edible leaves. That crop is the beet. Beets earn their place in a Halloween garden with rich red, burgundy, gold, and striped varieties. but the classic deep red types create the strongest dramatic effect. When cut, their color can look almost jewel-like. The roots fit roasted dishes, salads, soups, and pickles, while young leaves can be harvested as greens. Beets are normally direct sown. What looks like one rough beet seed is often a cluster that can produce more than one seedling, so thinning is part of the process. If several seedlings emerge close together, remove or separate extras carefully while they are small. Crowding reduces airflow and leaves less room for roots to expand. Prepare soil that drains well and is loose enough for root development. Beets are more forgiving of soil shape than long carrots, but compacted ground can still limit growth. Sow at the depth recommended for your variety, and keep the seed zone consistently moist during germination. Late summer heat can make establishment more difficult. Moisture may disappear quickly from the upper soil layer, and young seedlings can stall in hot, dry conditions. Water often enough to prevent the seedbed from repeatedly drying, then shift toward deeper watering as the roots develop. Beets are valuable for a late start plan because they offer more than one harvest stage. If the roots do not reach full size by Halloween, baby beets can still be useful. Young leaves can also be taken carefully, although stripping too many leaves from small plants will slow root growth. Harvest selectively. Avoid assuming every beet variety fits the same schedule. Large storage types and specialty varieties may need more time than compact or early cultivars. Read the packet and match it to your calendar. Nutrition should support balanced growth. Excess nitrogen can produce impressive leaves while the roots remain small. Compost and a balanced soil fertility plan are usually more helpful than repeatedly feeding for fast green growth. In areas with a mild fall, beets can continue growing after Halloween. In colder regions, row cover or another form of protection may extend the season, but protection has limits and should be matched to the weather you actually expect. Beets belong in the high confidence or possible with the right variety category for many gardeners, especially when a baby harvest is acceptable. They bring the red part of the color palette without requiring a huge plant or a long vine. Red beets are dramatic, but the next crop brings the color Halloween gardeners almost never expect to harvest from a vegetable garden: black. Black radishes can look as if they were designed for Halloween. Their skin ranges from very dark brown to nearly black, while the flesh inside is pale. That contrast makes them one of the most visually striking vegetables in the entire list. The name black radish covers more than one type, and the exact variety matters. Some are round, some elongated, and some are bred for winter storage. Their maturity periods and root sizes can differ, so do not treat every black radish like a fast spring radish. Direct sow them in loose, well-drained soil. Radish roots need room, and sowing too densely creates competition. Thin according to the mature size expected for the variety. A black radish intended to become a substantial storage root needs more space than a tiny salad radish. Temperature affects quality. Many black radishes are better suited to cooler conditions than peak summer heat. When sown too early into very hot soil, they may establish poorly or develop strong, coarse roots. When planted too late, they may not size up before severe cold. This is exactly why the local planting window matters. Maintain consistent moisture. Dry soil followed by heavy watering can lead to uneven growth and poor texture. Mulch can help moderate the soil after seedlings are established, but keep it light around very small plants so they are not buried. The flavor is usually stronger and more peppery than the mild red radishes many people know. That bold flavor can be used thinly sliced, roasted, fermented, or combined with other ingredients. It is worth explaining to family members that the crop is not simply a black version of a mild grocery store radish. Pest pressure may include flea beetles on the leaves and root pests below ground, depending on the region. Insect netting or row cover can help when used correctly, but cover should be installed before pests reach the crop and managed so heat does not build underneath during warm weather. Harvest based on the expected size and texture of the variety. Leaving roots in the ground far beyond their best stage does not always make them better. They can become woody, pithy, or excessively strong. For a gardener with the right cool season window, Black radish can be a powerful centerpiece with less space than pumpkins. For someone with only a very short period before freezing, a smaller and faster purple radish may be safer. If black radishes feel too bold in flavor or too slow for your window, the next crop gives you the same Halloween mood in a milder and more familiar form. Purple radishes are one of the easiest ways to add a clear purple accent to a small Halloween garden. Depending on the variety, the skin may be lavender, violet, magenta, or deep purple, usually with crisp, pale flesh inside. Many small radish varieties grow quickly compared with the larger roots on this list, which makes them useful for late starters. But quick is not the same as automatic. Hot soil, dry conditions, crowding, or delayed germination can still ruin the schedule. Sow directly where the roots will grow. Create a fine seedbed, plant at the recommended depth, and keep the upper layer evenly moist. Thin seedlings before they begin competing heavily. Radishes grown too close together may produce plenty of leaves and disappointing roots. If your remaining season allows it, sow a modest row and then another small row later, rather than planting every seed at once. Succession sowing can spread the harvest, but it only makes sense while the later sowing still fits the frost and temperature window. Radishes can become overly pungent, fibrous, hollow, or pithy when they remain in the ground too long or grow under stress. Check them as they approach the expected size. Harvesting at the right stage is more important than forcing every root to become large. The leaves are edible when healthy and tender, although their texture is rougher than many salad greens. Young leaves can be cooked or mixed with other greens. As with beets, do not strip a young plant heavily when you still want the root to grow. Flea beetles can pepper the leaves with tiny holes. The damage may be mostly cosmetic on a mature crop, but severe feeding on seedlings can slow them down. Protect young plants early, if this pest is common in your garden. Purple radishes fit the high-confidence category for many short-season gardeners when a suitable fast variety is chosen. They need little space, provide a strong Halloween color, and can be harvested in batches. We are staying with purple, but the next crop moves that color from a small root to one of the most dramatic heads in the entire fall garden. Purple cauliflower can become the visual centerpiece of the basket, even when no homegrown pumpkin is available. Its color ranges from lavender to deep violet, and the large head creates a bold shape surrounded by cool blue-green leaves. Its growing requirements are similar to orange cauliflower, which means the late starter must solve two problems at once: time and heat. A transplant is often the practical choice. Look for healthy plants that are compact rather than stretched, with no obvious pest damage and no severe root binding. A stressed transplant can stop growing after planting and lose the advantage you thought you purchased. Prepare the bed before the plant arrives. Add finished compost if the soil needs organic matter. Correct severe drainage problems and plan the spacing. Cauliflower does not respond well to being squeezed into a corner after every other crop has already been planted. Set the transplant at the correct depth, water thoroughly, and reduce intense heat stress during establishment. A light shade cloth can help in a hot climate, but remove or adjust it as conditions moderate. Too much shade can slow growth. Consistent soil moisture is especially important while the plant is building leaves and later forming the head. Long dry periods, followed by flooding, create stress. Mulch can help, but good watering practices still matter below the mulch. Inspect the center of the plant and the undersides of leaves for brassica pests. Caterpillars can hide along veins or inside folds. Aphids may gather in protected areas. Early detection prevents a small problem from becoming a damaged growing point. Purple cauliflower may hold its color differently during cooking depending on the variety and cooking method, but its raw harvest appearance is what matters most for the Halloween basket. Do not panic if the plant has not formed a full head by October 31st. In a mild fall, it may continue developing. The plant can still be part of the Halloween garden, even if the final harvest arrives later. This is a transplant preferred crop for many gardeners, and a long window crop for anyone starting from seed. It is less reliable than radishes, but potentially more dramatic. Purple cauliflower may become the centerpiece, but the next crop can give you several Halloween colors from the same row, and you do not have to wait for a complete head to begin harvesting it. Swiss chard is the flexible color bridge in this garden. Depending on the variety, the stalks and veins can be red, pink, orange, yellow, white, or a mixture of colors. The leaves provide deep green mass around the brighter stems, so a small bundle can make the final basket look abundant. Unlike cauliflower, Swiss chard does not require you to wait for a single finished head. You can harvest young leaves for salads or cooked greens, then take larger outer leaves as the plant matures. Leave the center growing point intact so the plant can continue producing. Swiss chard can be direct sown or transplanted. A transplant saves time, while direct sowing may be practical where the fall is long. Beet-like seed clusters can produce more than one seedling, so thinning may be needed. One reason chard is useful in late summer is its ability to handle warmth better than many cool season greens once established. It can bridge the transition from hot weather into fall. That does not make it indestructible. Small seedlings still need consistent moisture and can wilt in intense sun. Give plants enough space for airflow and leaf expansion. Chard that is crowded may stay small and can become more vulnerable to disease. In containers, use enough soil volume to maintain moisture and support repeated harvests. Water the root zone deeply and avoid keeping the foliage wet for long periods late in the day. Remove badly damaged outer leaves, but do not overharvest. A plant needs leaf area to replace what you cut. Leaf miners can create pale tunnels or blotches inside the leaves, and slugs or caterpillars may chew holes. Inspect regularly and manage problems using methods appropriate for your garden. For a Halloween harvest, choose the most colorful stalks and cut them near the base without injuring the center. Even if the plant is not large, a few young leaves can provide red, orange, yellow, and green in one crop. Swiss chard belongs in the high confidence category for many gardeners because a baby leaf harvest is possible and the plant does not depend on forming a root or head by one exact date. In mild climates, it may keep producing well beyond Halloween. Swiss chard gives color above the soil. Now we move back underground to crops that may be less flashy, but far more dependable as temperatures begin to fall. Turnips are practical because they give you two chances to harvest. The leaves can be used as greens, and the roots can be harvested young or allowed to size up. That makes turnips valuable when the calendar is uncertain. Direct sow them in loose soil. The seeds germinate readily under suitable conditions, but late summer heat can dry the bed quickly. Keep the seed zone moist until emergence. Then, thin the seedlings based on the mature root size of your variety. Do not leave every seedling simply because it looks healthy. Crowding produces small roots and weak airflow. Thinned seedlings can sometimes be used as tender greens if they are clean and undamaged. Variety choice matters. Some turnips are grown mainly for leaves, some for small tender roots, and others for larger storage roots. A fast salad turnip is not the same project as a large traditional type. Match the crop to the results you want by Halloween. Consistent watering helps prevent tough roots and overly strong flavor. Growth that repeatedly stops and starts can reduce quality. Fertility should be balanced. Excessive nitrogen can encourage leaves at the expense of roots, although that may be acceptable if greens are your main goal. Turnips generally appreciate cooler weather. In many regions, they become easier to grow as fall arrives, but early seedlings may still need protection from hot sun and dry soil. Watch for flea beetles, caterpillars, root maggots, and other brassica pests common locally. Young leaves can be damaged quickly, so check before the problem becomes obvious from a distance. If your Halloween deadline arrives before the roots are full size, harvest them young. Small turnips can be tender and attractive, and the leafy tops increase the visual volume of the basket. Turnips fit the high confidence or possible with the right variety category for many gardeners. They are especially useful in a late start plan because you can change the harvest goal without losing the crop. Turnips are flexible. Their larger relative, however, requires a more honest look at the calendar. Rutabagas are often confused with turnips, but they should not be treated as the same crop. Rutabagas usually form larger roots, take longer to mature, and need more room. Their flesh is commonly yellow or golden, adding a muted autumn color to the harvest. Direct sow rutabagas where they will grow. The roots need loose, well-drained soil and adequate spacing, thinned decisively. A bed that could support a row of small turnips may not support the same number of large rutabagas. Because the crop often takes longer, it is better suited to gardeners with a longer cool season window. If your frost date is close, and the packet already uses most of your remaining time, choose turnips instead. The goal is not to prove that you can grow the slower crop. The goal is to harvest useful food. Rutabagas appreciate steady moisture. Drought can slow root expansion, while waterlogged soil creates different problems. Mulch, after establishment, can moderate moisture and temperature. The leaves may attract the same brassica pests that attack turnips, kale, cabbage, and cauliflower. Crop rotation, early inspection, row cover used correctly, and timely control can prevent repeated damage across the entire fall garden. Cool weather often improves the eating quality of rutabagas, which means they do not have to be harvested exactly on Halloween to belong in the plan. In a mild or moderately cold region, they may continue developing afterward. In very cold areas, protection or earlier harvest may be necessary. For a themed basket, the yellow flesh may not be visible until the root is cut, but the purple and cream shoulder of some varieties can still add interest. Their main value is food, storage potential, and the feeling of a substantial autumn root. Place rutabagas in the possible with the right variety category for long window gardeners and the skip or replace category for very late starters. Turnips are the safer substitute when time is short. If rutabagas do not fit your window, the next crop can still give you a deep green Halloween harvest, one leaf at a time. Kale is one of the safest ways to add deep green volume to a Halloween harvest because you do not have to wait for the plant to form a head or a root. Baby leaves can be cut early, and mature plants can be harvested from the outside while the center continues growing. Use transplants when time is tight, or direct sow where the fall remains long. In hot weather, establish seedlings with steady moisture and temporary light shade if necessary. Once temperatures moderate, kale often becomes easier to manage. Do not crowd the plants if you want large leaves. Check the growing center and leaf undersides for caterpillars and aphids. Harvest clean outer leaves and leave enough foliage to power new growth. Green curly kale adds texture, while varieties with purple stems or leaves strengthen the Halloween palette. Many types tolerate light cold, but tolerance differs, and severe freezes still require planning. Kale belongs in the high confidence category when a baby leaf harvest is acceptable. It can provide food by Halloween and continue producing afterward. Kale lets you harvest without waiting for a finished head. The next crop is less flexible, but it can create one of the boldest shapes in the basket. Cabbage contributes a compact, heavy form that contrasts with loose greens and small roots. Green cabbage adds classic harvest color, while red or purple cabbage can become a dramatic Halloween centerpiece. For a late start, choose a healthy transplant and a variety whose maturity period fits your window. Beginning from seed may be too slow in short-season regions. Give each plant enough room to build its outer leaves and eventually form a head. Protect new transplants from extreme heat, maintain even soil moisture, and inspect for cabbage worms, loopers, flea beetles, slugs, and aphids. A damaged outer leaf is not a disaster, but damage to the growing center can stop the crop. Do not assume that a plant with many leaves will form a firm head by October 31st. Head formation depends on variety, temperature, fertility, spacing, and uninterrupted growth. A cabbage that finishes in November can still be a successful fall crop. Purple cabbage offers the strongest Halloween color, but green cabbage may be faster or easier, depending on the cultivar available. Let the packet and transplant tag guide the decision. Place cabbage in the transplant preferred category for most late starters. It gives you one compact head. Our final crop builds its harvest differently, stacking small buds along a tall stalk and demanding more patience. Brussels sprouts are visually fascinating, but they are one of the longest commitments in this cool season group. The plant must first build a tall, sturdy stalk before the small sprouts enlarge along it. For gardeners beginning late, a healthy transplant is usually more realistic than seed. Even then, the maturity estimate must fit the remaining season. An early frost region may not have enough time for a substantial Halloween harvest, while a mild, long fall may allow the plants to continue well beyond October. Space plants properly, provide steady moisture, and avoid severe stress. Stake them where wind can loosen tall plants. Inspect regularly for the same caterpillars and aphids that attack other brassicas. Do not remove too many leaves early in an attempt to force sprouts. The plant needs healthy foliage. Follow guidance for the variety and local climate, rather than relying on a dramatic shortcut. Brussels sprouts belong in the transplant preferred, long window category. They may be part of the Halloween garden, even when the edible harvest comes later. Now that all 15 crops are on the table, the most useful question is not which one looks best. It is which combination fits your actual season. If you expect an early frost or have a short, cool season window, build the plan around speed and flexible harvest stages. Start with purple radishes, turnips, baby beets, baby kale, and Swiss chard. Add carrots only when a short or baby variety fits the calendar. Consider black radishes only when the exact cultivar has enough time. Use established cauliflower or cabbage transplants only if their tags and your local conditions support them. In that short season plan, treat pumpkins, new sweet potato slips, rutabagas, and Brussels sprouts with caution. They may consume space without reaching the result you want. Your basket can still look complete. Purple radishes provide violet, beets provide red, young carrots provide orange. Black radish can provide the dark accent when time allows. Kale and chard provide green volume. If you garden where fall stays warm and the first frost comes late, your choices expand. Mini pumpkins or pie pumpkins may remain possible when the variety, planting method, and warm window fit. Sweet potatoes belong only if they are already established or your region genuinely supports a late start. Carrots, beets, radishes, turnips, rutabagas, and brassica transplants can all be considered, but heat management becomes the first challenge. In a warm fall garden, protect cool season seedlings from harsh late summer conditions. Keep seedbeds moist, transplant in the cooler part of the day, mulch after establishment, and use light shade cloth when necessary. Do not leave shade in place so long that growth becomes weak. As temperatures fall, adjust the protection and keep watching for pests. If you are simply starting late and do not know which regional plan fits, choose the crops that can be harvested in more than one way. Purple radishes can be harvested as roots and sometimes tender tops. Turnips offer roots and greens. Beets offer baby roots and leaves. Swiss chard and kale allow repeated leaf harvests. A suitable carrot can be harvested young. A healthy transplant of cabbage or cauliflower may be worth trying, but do not make it the only crop in the bed. Limit the late start garden to 5 or 7 strong choices. Select at least 3 colors. For example, choose carrots for orange, beets for red, purple radishes for violet, black radish for the dark accent, and kale or Swiss chard for green. That small group can produce a more convincing Halloween harvest than 15 poorly timed crops. One final adjustment separates a random basket from a harvest that truly feels like Halloween. Build the basket by color, but build the garden by time. Never keep a slow crop only because you love its appearance, when a faster crop can provide the same color with less risk. Return to the basket we imagined at the beginning. The orange does not have to come from a homegrown pumpkin. It can come from carrots or orange cauliflower. The dark accent can come from black radish. Purple can come from radishes, cauliflower, or cabbage. Red can come from beets and Swiss chard stems. Green can come from kale, cabbage, chard, turnip tops, and Brussels sprout leaves. You do not need all 15 crops. You need the right crops for your first frost date, your remaining warm days, your space, and the way you are willing to harvest. Check the exact variety. Read whether maturity is counted from seed or transplant. Leave room for slower fall growth. Protect cool season seedlings from late summer heat, and do not force warm season crops into a calendar that no longer supports them. When one crop no longer fits, replace it with another that can deliver a similar color, flavor, or harvest experience in less time. The calendar is not telling you to give up, it is telling you where to focus. A successful Halloween garden is not the one with the longest list. It is the one that turns the time, climate, and space you actually have into a harvest worth celebrating. Choose your colors, check your calendar, and begin with the crops that still have time to grow.